G'day and welcome to Mark and Sam After Work. Today I want to show you a couple of new products, one that's just a design thing and another one that is a product that's going on the store this weekend. So I just thought I'd show you it, or both the bits and pieces. First off, muzzle brakes. I've got this new muzzle brake here. It's one that I haven't run myself yet. It's going to go on my next build, probably on the 300 Norma. It's a 4-port muzzle brake. It's similar, except for it is actually designed where it is a full 1.25" or 31.6 millimeters. So a full target size barrel, the big straight full barrel, is designed to mate exactly to that. Has a giant thread inside it, so it's a great big thread. I'll put all the specifications on there as to all the details, so you've got that side of things on the site. And it also has slightly smaller ports on the side here. What that is that I've actually tapered the brake down from back to front and run ports that are only 25mm high. That's to give a more direct side punch in the way of where the air goes to the side, so there's less ground, just less disturbance on the ground. A slightly smaller front profile to the muzzle brake, but all fitted into something that goes onto the giant barrel. So it's something that I think will be very efficient, a little bit better with dust. Like I said, a little smaller, a little less buffy on the nose of it. Still a big muzzle brake and a very big thread. The design of the big thread, this brake is not designed to be made to go onto any muzzle. This is designed to go onto when you're doing a big barrel and you've got to do your thread, then you have the option to go to the giant thread. I think it's 28 by 1.5. I've forgotten exactly right at the moment. I'll put the specifications there. But the thread is designed to be this big so that there is absolutely no weakness to the end of the muzzle, so that we can, or to the end of the barrel I should say, so that it screws on there with a very good lock up and keeping the barrel or the integrity of the barrel and the rifling as good as it possibly can be. So it is very much for you're doing a build, you've got a new barrel, and to put on the front of that. That's what I'm going to do with it, but that's what that muzzle brake is, so I thought I'd introduce that. Okay, so that's that bit. Next bit, I just have my Hauer 1506.5 Creedmoor. It'll soon have the 6mm Creedmoor in here. I think is what I'm going to do a bit more testing with the 6mm Creedmoor. But a concept or something that I've sort of thought about over the years, which is how to measure bipod preload. So when you're actually rocking forward, that little rock forward, I tend to find I do it very naturally, and in most places it's something that I do in an automatic sense and have that feel, and I can sort of feel it. I'm trying to end up where the rifle goes across its firing cycle, its recoil, is it just moves as straight as possible. So just across the top of the arc of those long legs on the bipod. This is for any bipod. This is my own system using the long Atlas legs and some little extensions on my own little system. But it's really for any bipod. That rock is there in any good bipod, or what I consider a good bipod. The only place I've really noticed when I'm really pushing the distances in the 2 miles plus or 3,000 yards plus, and especially in the big calibers, and when you're dealing with trying to make sense of all the rest of it, with you're trying to get your group size smaller, dealing with conditions, dealing with wind and then trying to figure everything out. I felt sometimes that because things get moved, because you're getting thumped a fair bit, you know, the big ones in the 375s or in the 416 or the 50 or that sort of stuff, and then getting that preload set exactly right, I get a feeling like I feel a shot goes long, and it's might be a little bit to do with my preload. Now, could be the loading, the powder, could be to do with extreme spreads, as everyone wants to measure and check and all that sort of stuff. Could be in that place, but I feel there's a little bit of bipod preload. Now, you can go to the world of the F-class bipod where they're really running freeload, so they actually just got the tension, and so you can set it up by how you set up your pad and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, okay. There's some negatives, I think, there as well, but that's not the conversation. This is how, could I build something that means that I can, if it may be for a training system, it may be for trying to find that ultimate little piece of precision. I don't know if it's going to work, but I've come up with a way of building something that gives me a bipod preload gauge. That there. As you can see, and I'll put it on a bit of angle so you guys can see also, I simply have a leg that pushes down the bottom here that is mounted down to where it's self-centering. So it's also self-centering side to side as well. It'll actually set where it sits there. And what you can see, it has a little linkage that goes to an arm and a little gauge back here. So as I preload forward, I can see that gauge move to wherever it is. Now, just for a couple of things, I always say there's only light preload you want, and you just want to go to the front of that rock and you want to go to that place. Of course, the most important thing is that you're consistent, is that you are doing the same thing every shot. And the normal way to do that would be, okay, get to where this works well, and then you want to do the same thing. Do the same thing consistently. That can be hard, especially depending on your comfort levels, depending on where your brain's at, depending on all the other details of what you're dealing with. So to have something, and that's what this is designed for, where you see on the side here, I have just the little numbers, and like I said, this is Mark 1, so I have some mods, but I've just got a little set of scales there, a little dash and little numbers, and with this, to me, that feels right about there, so that's just on the top edge of the 4. So I could do my rack the bolt, come back in, go back in, preload to that point, make sure my cant's right, make sure I'm on target, make sure that's in the same spot, and I have a preload gauge. So I can do that 1,000 times. That's always going to go to the same preload because this hookup and everything else here is the same. Doesn't matter if the bipod feet are moving, doesn't matter if I'm adjusting onto target, doesn't matter, all those things there are not, although that's relevant and you want that to stay the same, in the way of the bipod preload, I'm measuring it because I'm actually measuring, doesn't matter the angle I'm shooting at, what I'm actually measuring is the angle of how much I'm pushing against the actual legs. I've designed this system so that it's adjustable. It has thread in here. I think you can see that. It has thread in here. Be able to adjust that to different levels. Like I said, this is Mark 1. I think I've got a pretty good ratio. It's set up to where you could put it out the shooter side for people that want over there. I have my bubble over to the left side. I have this stuff over here. Really easy to use my other eye to be able to check all that stuff and make sure that's on. But like I said, it's just an R&D model at this moment. That to me meant that it's going to look after itself. It is the type of thing that really does go on and fold up into a bit that could go on my kit. It doesn't need to be there, and all I need to do, this one here, like most of them, with a normal rail on the bottom here, you could have your normal Atlas bipod on there, and then this clicks on behind it and works on that side of things. With some of my bigger ones that just have the bipod out the front, I'll have to put a little rail under there to use this system, but the rail is not a bad thing to have on the bottom of a rifle on that side of things. So I think, like I said, Mark 1, I should show the design a little bit more. I got it off. It actually has the front of this pivots around to where that's going to go to straight up and down, and it has, if you look from there, it has a rotation here, so it's always going to pick up on the legs. It's not going to be pushing on one leg unevenly or that sort of stuff. It's not going to tell you if you're pushing unevenly. You should be feeling that, and you know where you're set up. And I suppose you could put in a little centering gauge as well if you wanted to. At the moment, it's designed about this little piece here, so you can just simply set it up to where it goes to an even place. I've also designed it so that when it does go into recoil, it doesn't go flapping around. It's just going to sit down on this bottom thing here. That's how it balances until you preload again and push it back up again. So Mark 1, but that's the concept for this moment of how to build a preload gauge. As to whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, I won't make that call yet. As to whether it's a training device or it's a precision device to really take a tactical bipod to another level of precision. As said, for me, largely I find for most of the stuff in the moderate calibers and in the 2,500 yards and that sort of stuff, I really don't feel that I'm looking for any improvements in that place. So I find that once I make it all work, and I have to say I have to get into my grooves. Sometimes that might take longer than other times, so maybe that could help on that form. My real hope is that it's more a training thing. and more a go-to. It's part of the kit. So I'm on there, I feel a little inconsistency, and I can bolt this thing on. Or I'm trying to do my 4Ks or 5Ks and that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna do the whole enchilada right off the get-go. So then I can put it on there, and I know I've got. So then with the right preload, I'm then just adjusting to get onto target. Of course, as always in ELR and ULR, the conditions are far more the enemy, but in the way of removing the enemies or the other things, that preload thing could be an issue, and maybe this is a way around it. Anyway, guys, muzzle brake, preload gauge, those are the two things for today. I hope that's of some interest to people. Thanks for checking in on us, and we'll catch you next time.